At independence in 1947, India's power grid was practically non-existent. The average citizen consumed a mere 16 kilowatt-hours of electricity a year. Building a modern nation required an immense, centrally planned infrastructure effort driven by the state. This chart shows electricity consumption over time. In 7 decades, per capita usage has surged 90-fold. Today, India houses 1.46 billion people, operating as the third largest consumer of energy on the planet. To meet that exploding demand, the country initiated an aggressive decarbonization campaign. India hit its target of 50% non-fossil fuel capacity in late 2024, reaching that milestone a full 5 years ahead of its official schedule. But installed capacity tells only half the story. Because intermittent renewables don't run around the clock, the baseline grid remains heavily reliant on fossil fuels. Coal continues to drive roughly 75% of the electricity India actually consumes. Slowing down. Powering a rapidly developing economy of this size means the energy transition cannot be a clean switch from dirty to green. Every new solution triggers a massive systemic trade-off. India's massive pivot to solar and wind serves as a strategic escape from its historic reliance on volatile Middle Eastern oil and imported natural gas. The country deployed massive solar parks across its arid regions, scaling up utility-level generation to secure a new path toward energy independence. However, this shift created a secondary trap. Transitioning the grid away from imported hydrocarbons transferred India's vulnerability from Middle Eastern oil cartels to Chinese manufacturing monopolies. This chart breaks down India's solar panel imports by origin. Out of billions of dollars spent on foreign solar technology, a staggering 92% of those panels originate directly from China. To counter this, the government launched a massive financial incentive program to build advanced battery factories domestically and manufacture clean energy hardware at home. But building advanced factories requires highly specialized expertise. Indian firms found they couldn't calibrate the complex manufacturing equipment without Chinese technical specialists. Because of ongoing geopolitical tensions, securing visas for those experts was delayed, stalling the very factories meant to break the dependency. Section 2. The Ecological Trade-off. In the rush to decarbonize, the pursuit of energy security compromised the nation's geopolitical sovereignty. Even with the hardware secured, green energy requires immense physical space. Solar and wind farms have massive footprints, putting global climate goals in direct conflict with local biodiversity. In the deserts of Rajasthan and Gujarat, the high-tension transmission lines needed to connect renewable parks to the grid pass directly through the habitat of the Great Indian Bustard, a critically endangered bird prone to fatal collisions. This mortality rate forced the Supreme Court to intervene. They ordered the power lines to be placed underground, an expensive, disruptive process that effectively stalled 9 gigawatts of clean solar capacity to protect the species. This map shows India's thermal plants overlaid with water availability. Over 90% require massive fresh water for cooling. 40% of this capacity sits in extreme water stress areas. When droughts hit, these utilities face emergency shutdowns, lacking fresh water, not coal, to operate. Section 3. The Economic Trade-off. Both the green transition and the legacy coal baseload are colliding with India's uncompromising hydrological and ecological limits. But generating gigawatts of electricity means nothing if the state-owned companies that distribute the power to homes and businesses go bankrupt. State governments utilize a highly political pricing model. They overcharge industrial and commercial users to collect surplus revenue, then use that money to subsidize cheap electricity for the agricultural sector. When combined with widespread power theft and unbilled consumption, this model creates a financial death spiral for the distribution companies. By mid-2022, the legacy debt owed by these companies to power generators ballooned to $16.8 billion. The entire grid faced systemic collapse simply because the bills weren't being paid. The physical expansion of a modern grid cannot rest on a broken, politically compromised economic foundation. To avert collapse, the central government implemented a hardline regulatory fix, the LPS rules, which automatically cuts off power supply to any state distribution company defaulting on its monthly payments. To cure the root cause of theft and collection losses, the grid is undergoing a hardware upgrade. The government is deploying 250 million prepaid smart meters, eliminating manual billing errors and ensuring upfront payment before electricity is consumed. To balance intermittent renewables without Chinese battery imports, India is rapidly scaling off-river pumped storage hydropower, using artificial reservoirs as massive mechanical batteries. For sovereign, uninterrupted baseload power, India is aggressively advancing a strategic plan first drawn up in the 1950s, the three-stage nuclear program. The country recently achieved a milestone by initiating a sustained chain reaction in a new fast breeder reactor. This officially transitions the grid into Stage 2, setting the foundation to run the grid on domestic thorium reserves rather than imported uranium. With these internal fixes taking hold, India is leveraging its synchronized grid to act as a geopolitical hub. A landmark agreement now allows Nepal to export hydroelectricity directly to Bangladesh by wheeling it through the Indian national grid. By surviving its own systemic trade-offs, India is architecting the indispensable blueprint for the developing world's survival in the 21st century.